Awesome. Hey, so we are live. Feels a bit weird talking to myself. So this is so I see like right now there is only me, but feels a bit weird to talking to myself. But yeah, if someone joins in, let's wait for them. It's still 6:29. It's scheduled for 6:30. I just wanted to start it early so that if there are any hiccups, I still have some time to try it out again. So yeah, I see one person joined in. Hello, uh, drop a hi in the chat. I think you would have to sign in if you want to drop a message in the chat. But the idea is very simple. Like this isn't some uh, tutorial or some course. This is basically something that I wanted to do personally for a while. I wanted to just create I just wanted to block some time on my calendar so that I can create these agents that make my life easy, and that's the entire point. Let me quickly also check if my mic is working properly. So I see the devices. Yes, I hope it's working properly now. So let's wait for a couple of more minutes and then we will get started. But the thing is, like today we would be, going over and building this agent. So what this agent does is it basically lives directly within your WhatsApp, and this acts like a personal assistant. So it has memory, so it can remember everything that you tell it. You can give it access to different tools like your own GitHub, your Slack, and bunch of different integrations, and you communicate to it using WhatsApp. So it becomes really simple. Like I have one of these deployed for myself. So you'll see this here, the Hermes agent. Let me quickly check like if all of my screen is showing up. Okay, I don't have a way of checking it. So yeah. So what, like if you go over the chat, like let me move myself here so that yeah, it's clearer. So yeah, so this is basically the Hermes agent. So I did not do anything creative with the name, but what I do is I just drop audio notes here, talking about, for example, I was using this for tracking my workouts. So what I did in the workout today, and it updates it on a Google Sheet. Sometimes when I want to try a new workout, I just ask it that, can you tell me based on Jeff Nippard's workout that what should I do on a leg day, and it recommends me what all I should do. So, and similarly, like you can do it, use it for a bunch of stuff, and it remembers everything that it tell it. So that's pretty cool, and that makes this agent really powerful. And right now I've set this up for a general purpose, like this is my everything agent. But going ahead, I would want to set each of these agents for specialized tasks. So for example, workout tracking, for example, managing operational tasks within my business. And that is what this entire series is about. Like honestly, it's just me building out things that I genuinely need myself, and recording and documenting myself doing it, and hopefully it becomes relevant for someone. And yeah, now there are 5 people on the chat. It's pretty cool. Let me also turn up the live chat. Okay, so hi everyone, all 5 of you. I think I know some of you would be friends and family, but it's still very nice that you joined in. So cool, let's get started. So for building out this agent, there are 3 major things that are needed. Like we start with WhatsApp, you have WhatsApp. Then the next thing is we would be using a mechanism for joining our agent with a WhatsApp. And this is where a layer called Capso comes in. And then we will be adding it on top of Hermes agent. So you would have heard of all these personal agents that are now really, really popular. It started with OpenClaw, and then a much more powerful and secure version of it called Hermes Agent came in, and it is independently very powerful, but when you connect it with WhatsApp, it becomes really accessible. So that is what we are gonna do today, and it can directly talk with LLMs, with OpenAI, with Claude, and it also has its personal tools, and then it responds back to you on WhatsApp. So that's the entire agent that we are gonna build out. Now, everything, like all the code that we would be creating right now, I would be pushing this on this GitHub repository. So you can get it from here. Anytime you get stuck, you can just go on this repository and check like what happened differently in my code that it's working, or like what exactly you need to fix there. Now, this document has this code, so let me quickly share this document in the description of the stream. So let's open up YouTube. So you would be able to get this document from the description here. Let me just save this. Awesome. So now we are all set. So let's start with the entire process. So our tech stack for this would be the Hermes agent, Capso, and all the things that I already talked about. Then there are three more things that we did not cover so far. The first one is Cursor. We will be using it for vibe coding, and you can use honestly Claude or Codex or any other AI code editor for it. All we have to do is just drop prompts. Next is we would be using OpenAI as our LLM. So this is basically what powers the Hermes agent. And then finally we would be deploying all our code on fly.io, which would be basically our server on which all this basically where the agent lives. Like we are accessing it through WhatsApp, but it is available all the time at fly.io, where all the different aspects of it, like its memory, is being maintained. So cool. So the first thing over here is we will start within Cursor. Now I will quickly open up my Cursor, and I see there is no chat. Cool. So let me open up my Cursor. So this is basically the agent workflow. Like either you will be on this screen, or your screen would look something like this. Yeah, either you would be on this editor screen. So on this editor screen, so yes, either you would be on this screen. I have a pro plan of Cursor, but honestly you can do it with the free plan. Like you don't need to spend any money on the tools that we are using today. Practically you can play around with the free tier of all of them and still complete what we are building out today. Now there are still chances that you might run out of tokens, so please don't quote me on that. So let's start with this. So either you will land on this screen if you are using Cursor for the first time, or this is like the agent screen that you would be on. So what we have to do is we have to set up a new project here. So I will just click on open project, and this will take me to my file explorer. If you are using Windows, the process would very much look the same. And over here, I will just create a new folder. I will call it Hermes WhatsApp Live. And this is where all our code will live locally. And then we will update this along with our GitHub repository. So I would recommend you to, as soon as you create this repository, you also go on your GitHub. So if you have never used GitHub, it's basically like Google Drive for code. So all your local code would then be on a cloud. So, with time, if you mess up or your local files are deleted, your code is still secure. And this also helps in other tools like fly.io accessing your code systematically. So I have already created a repository for this. So I will just copy the link and I will drop it in the agent window here. So this is like one way of how you can use Cursor. A much more user-friendlier way would be to use it through the agent window. So you will just see an icon on top right if you're not already on agent window. And when you click on it, we are just redirected to the screen. So over here, I will also open up the folder that we just created. So I will just search for this. And okay, thanks a lot, everyone. Like, I think I missed out that my screen is not moving. So let me just check this. So this captures the. Also, this is the first time I'm doing it, so thanks a lot for everyone who is being patient so far. Let me try doing this again. So let's open up the cursor. Now I will just quickly go on the stream and check if it is showing up fine. Okay, I clearly see that my screen wasn't visible here. Yeah. So okay. So this is gone. Let's see if I remove this video capture again, and yeah. Okay, hopefully I think you can see me now. Let's try again for the screen as well. So I will put myself on a corner, then I will remove this layer as well, and let's try doing it again. So I guess with this, the entire screen should be visible. Let's do a quick check. If you can let me know in the comments if the screen shows up now, that would be really helpful. So let me just set up the frame here. I need to get this layer in front, so let's remove it for now and then let's add it back here. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if my cursor window is now visible. Can anyone in the chat let me know? Okay, this is working. Awesome. Cool. Let's start from scratch again. I think then all the things that we covered so far, none of them would have been visible so far. So let me start from scratch again. The first thing is we are gonna build out this agent which basically works directly within our WhatsApp. So like this is directly available on my Hermes agent. So like if I go on my WhatsApp, you will see that I already have a chat here, and I send it audio messages and it responds to it. I've been primarily using it for tracking my workouts and helping me in doing these workouts. So I tell it that what I did in the workout and it updates it on a sheet so that I have a tracker for myself. I tell it that what workout I want to do for the day, and it tells me like, these are the exercises that are, these are the exercises that Jeff Nippard recommends. And then I can ask it that what is my workout for the day. So I can tell it the routine that I want to follow, and it tells me the workout that I have to follow for that exact date. Like I've uploaded a Google Sheet and it keeps updating that. Similarly, there are a bunch of different use cases that I can do with it, and honestly the reason for having these streams is so that I can experiment with more of these agents and create these agents that just simplify what I'm doing in everyday life. So the tech stack for that is gonna be simple. We are gonna use Hermes agent, which is basically the best one out there. It's similar to OpenClaw if you would have heard about it. So it's like a personal assistant, and you can and it comes with a bunch of different integrations. Like you can connect it to your email, you can connect it to your Slack, you can connect it to any app that you use and has like a API access available, and it can programmatically make changes over there. So we are going to use that. Then we are going to use Capso for getting a WhatsApp number so that we can directly message our agent. Then we would be using Cursor for vibe coding. You can use Cursor or any other tool that you use. Claude, Codex, everything else works here. And please note, like you would have to use the desktop version of Claude, which is Claude Code, not the Claude.ai. Now the next thing is we would be using OpenAI as our LLM, and finally we would be using Fly.io as our server. So basically a server is where all your code remains and it like keeps on working, because when you're sending a message on WhatsApp, the code needs to be live somewhere. So that's everything. I've dropped this document in the description of the video. You can get it from there. And now the next thing is let's open up our cursor. So I already reached this step, but if you are using cursor for the first time, either you will be on a screen that looks something like this. So basically a new window where you can create a new folder, you can open a new folder, you can create a new project here. I have already created a new project, which basically means creating a folder. And once you have done that, then I would recommend you to continue on this agent window. So if you just click on this button on top right, agent window, you will directly land over here. Wait, let me check if yeah. Okay, so now I will finally add my own video over here as well, and I hope with that the entire setup is fine. So let me just minimize myself, and thanks Shivam for letting me know. Really appreciate you guys sticking around even after so many hassles, but and yeah, like I promise you it's gonna be fun. You are gonna learn something new, and hopefully I will learn also something new out of it. So yes, now my video is there. So I will keep moving it around based on wherever which part of the screen I need to show. So now we are moving on to the agents window. So I will just close this window and then we will continue on the agents window. So we are already within the folder that we just created, Hermes WhatsApp Live, and the first thing I will do is I will basically connect it with the GitHub repository that we have. So I will first tell it we are gonna build a personal agent here that connects directly with our WhatsApp. You don't need to create files right now. just create a readme with placeholder text and push it on this GitHub repo. So when we do that, we basically just create like the first version of our app, and then we can keep adding things on top of it. So I will just paste this here, and then it will create a simple file into it, which is basically a README file, which tells that what this repository is, and then it pushes it on GitHub. So we are done with that first step. Then the next thing is we will get the entire Hermes agent within our project so that we can start working with it. And that would be majorly the core engine of the entire automation or the AI agent. So I will copy this link. You can also get it from the document that is there in the description. And if I talk you about this project, this was launched around 2-3 months back. But since it has launched, it has been the best OpenClaw competitor out there because it is secure, it is the most capable one, and it is created by the team at Nous Research, which used to be a very big name in the era of Web3, and like they have held out their dominance in tech in AI space as well. So let's go back. I see that it says that it has already pushed out the entire README file. So I will open up the repository that I created and I will just refresh this. And yes, I see that it has created the README file here. This is basically plain. Now the next thing is let's install the Hermes agent in the root of the project. Don't create a subfolder, keep the files in the root of the project. And then I will drop the link of the repository. I will also copy this prompt and I will keep adding it in the document. So if you would want to use it, so I will just name it prompt number 1 and I will drop it here. But in this video, like I would want you to start with installing this Hermes agent. That would be just like the engine of your entire car, and then you can modify it any way you like. You can specify it to be a specialist in being your gym assistant. You can make it a specialist in helping you out for your work. You can make it a specialist in support tickets for your business, and similarly like all the different use cases. Now it's cloning the repository in the file. So while it works on it, let's think through what are the next steps here. So we have the Hermes agent ready. Now the next thing is we want to test it out and see that if the agent is working. But for doing that, we would need to add we would have to add the LLM layer. So if you look at how the agent works, this Hermes agent needs a LLM to work, and for that we would be using OpenAI. So while it does this, we would be going on platform.openai.com, and over here you will see, and over here, like if you are using it for the first time, you would have to sign up and then you will land on this dashboard. I will go on API key and I will create a new API key for this. I've already created one and I will basically copy the entire file so that it does not leak my API key, but you can just create a new one from here and just copy the API key, and then you'd be using it in a minute. By the way, if you would want to speed up this process, like there is something called as multitask within Cursor as well, where it runs multiple agents parallelly that makes the entire process faster. But done. So we have copied all the files. So let's go back and check our repository. I will just click refresh. And we still have the README file here. So I will just ask it to push the code on GitHub. And another thing, we also have to set up this Hermes gateway and we have to do this Hermes setup. So I will first ask it to post the code on GitHub, and then we will move on to that setup. So it's always recommended that you keep pushing your code on GitHub time to time. At least I like to do it, because then I know that I have these you know timestamps that are saved within the code that yes, Shivam, so I've shared the code now. So you're using VS Code with Cloud Code. I think that works out well as well. So I've just dropped the second prompt that I used here. I will also drop the first one. You can just replace the GitHub repository URL here with your own repository. So I will just call it prompt number 0. And yeah. So these are basically series of prompts that you have to drop in. I think as you are following along, this would make sense to you. But if someone is watching through the recording, then yeah, like then you would have to basically adjust and figure out like where this is happening. But next, like our agent has now pushed all the code on GitHub. I will quickly refresh this and verify this. You don't have to actually verify this every time, but at the start we are just verifying it. And yes, like we have the entire Hermes agent here. It has copied all the files and the entire setup. So the next step for us is we will ask it to set up the Hermes agent for us. Set up the Hermes agent. And we are gonna use OpenAI as our LLM provider. I will also mention the model that we want to use here. So since Hermes agent requires a lot of tokens at once, so it's better to use like the smaller models. So over here you would be using GPT 5.4 mini, which is a smaller model. And that's why it's much more faster than something like GPT 5.4. So I will just go on the portal here. I will copy the code for this and I will mention. And we want to use GPT 5.4 mini, and like I will just put this entire text into inverted commas, and once set up, then let me know, and I will paste my API key in the .env file. Create the .env.example file. So your code editor does not have permission to directly edit the .env file. .env file is basically where all your secrets, basically, for using all these different APIs like OpenAI for Capso. Your agent needs to have this secret keys so that the connection knows that it is coming from your system, and all of them are saved within these folders, within this specific folder .env. Your most of these AI agents does not have access to use it, so that's why they create something called .env.example, which is an example file for you. You can copy it and then rename it as .env and then paste all your variables there. So this is a third prompt. I will paste this on the live document. Prompt 2, and wait, how do I remove? Okay, this is just the font color. And this is a prompt number 2. Meanwhile, if you have not created your API key, you can generate this from here. You would also need some tokens on your account. I would recommend add like $5 worth of token because that's a minimum. If And like honestly, if you use a smaller model, something like GPT-4 or Mini, you would not even have to pay money for it, but you still need like $5 in your account for it to be able to use the API key. So yeah. L- So I hope you're done with that step. Meanwhile, let's wait for it to finish the setup, and then we will move on to the next step. So right now we have done all the basic plumbing, which is basically setting up a GitHub repository, setting up a local repo and connecting it with GitHub. By local repo, I mean like a local folder where your code lives. And then we basically installed the Hermes agent, which is basically the brain, the core engine of the agent. Now, what we would be doing is we would be moving towards connecting this with Capso so that you can use this with a live WhatsApp number. So let's wait while it does all of that, and then we'll move on to the next step. And yes, now I see there are 9 of us. Thank you every one of you to join in. Drop in any message. Drop in any question that you have. Like it could be related to building agents. It could not. It could be related to some other part of AI. I would love to answer and help you out in any way possible. And yeah, like now the .env file is present, so let's move on to it. Like when I click on .env, it will open up this file explorer, and like I can then like edit this here. Now you will see that there is also a WhatsApp allowed users number here, so we won't be using that. We would be using Capso. So you can use Hermes agent directly within your WhatsApp, and for that you don't need any additional setup. But that is similar to sending notes like on, you know. So I know like all of us have created these groups with our own mobile number in WhatsApp, where we just take notes, where we put links of things that we find interesting. So you will be able to use the Hermes agent over there. But in our case, we want our agent to have a separate number so that we can access it using multiple devices, so that it's much more cleaner and easier to keep all the context in one place. So it has created a .env file for us, and we would be pasting our OpenAI API key here. So I already have my API key that I will just quickly paste here. I will hide most of the screen so that you're not able to see my API key. So let me quickly get it. दीदी मैं नहीं उसी पे हूँ, आप जाना था.
हाँ मैंने सुना कि you are done.
And let me copy this API key from here. Yeah, so I have all of it. Now let's copy this, and I will move back to the same workspace. So in your case, like you would have to directly paste this there, like rather than doing all of it. So I have this. I will quickly paste the API key. I will remove the initials, and yes, like we are all set up with this. Now once you paste your API key here, then you can try out the agent directly in the chat. So let's ask it, let's run the agent locally and test if it is working. So once our agent will start working, we will be able to communicate with it using our terminal. So it is checking the environment and like running a local smoke test. So let's wait for it to do it, and once that seems to be working, then we will push our code back to GitHub again so that we can save that timestamp there. I think going ahead, if there would be some sort of music going on when there are these moments of silence, that should probably help. But do let me know, like, what do you think would be better? Uh, but I genuinely am starting to like this. I'm creating basically an agent that I was uh, basically procrastinating on for the entire last month. So it's nice to take out some time every weekend and work on these projects. So we can play around with this in Clee. So we can uh, play around with this agent in our terminal. So for doing that, this is the command that we need to run. So let's copy this command and open the terminal. So for opening the terminal, you would have to open this side panel. You will see this button on top right. It could vary based on what code editor you are using, but if you will just ask the agent directly to guide you on how to use the terminal, they will be able to help you. So since we are already within this repository, I will just copy this entire command after that, and I will paste this here. Wait, so let's start with the first one. Okay, let's ask our agent to run it. Can you run the clee command for testing it in terminal? I don't know what these number one, number two means here, but yeah, like, thanks a lot for the people who are number one here, and same for people who are on the number two tier here. But this feels nice that you guys are noticing what I am working on. So yes, it ran this and it says that it is working. It gave out the response in 9 seconds. So this is nice. Our agent is now working on the local system. So I will push all these code to GitHub. And now we will move on to the next part, which is connecting our agent with a live WhatsApp number. So for doing this, so if I have to just mark these steps that we are done with, actually we don't have steps written down. So let me just add a new table here, and I will call this steps. And let's add the first step, which was setting up a local folder, connecting with GitHub. We are done with that. Installing Hermes agent, we are also done with that. And then the next step for us was adding a QnA API key. We are also done with that. The next step for us is to after testing the agent locally, is we test this along with our WhatsApp number. So the next step is adding the WhatsApp number for agent using capsule. So now let's move on to this step. So for doing it, let's move on to the documentation of capsule. So you already have this link here. Apart from that, we would also need to create an account on capsule.ai. You can also find a link for it in the same document. Now let's move on this and just click on start free. This gives you a free tier where you can send around 2000 messages, I think for a month, which is I think more than enough for a personal agent. I will create a new account here, and in this new account we'll start playing around with all the different configurations that we want to. So now the first step is we have to add a WhatsApp, like we have to add a personal WhatsApp number so that it will send us a test message and see like if it's working. So I added my number, and let's number already in use. Okay, I think this is something else then. So we can either set up our own phone number, which is setup number start. So let's start from here. So one thing is we can instantly set up with a US digital number. So let's just click on this and this will set up a number for us. Wait, I think I would have to remove some of these extensions from here. Yes, I guess this should start working now. So let's refresh this again and I will start with the instant setup. And you would have to log in into your Facebook account. So I think this is my account. But you would basically need to use the Meta Business Suite so that you have basically then you can create a new phone number over there. And yeah, let's wait for it to complete the verification and then we would be able to set up a number here. I'll just click on continue, then select the business assets to share with Capso. At this point I will quickly also check the video. So it says that select a test portfolio. Okay, so I will create a business portfolio. I will create a WhatsApp business account and then just click on next. We will call it stream test, and then let's also check through like what category do we need here. Okay, so let's start from the scratch. We completed this step, we clicked on continue, then they selected a test portfolio, so they did not create a portfolio, but let's do it in our case. I will select the country, I will select the business category, so let's keep it probably non-profit, and let's move on to the next step. I think we are still missing some information. Show more options. Yeah, so we are done with this. Now next, let's wait for it to create the new business and like attach all the information to it. I think the next step after that would be use a new or existing WhatsApp number. Then we would have to select a BSP provided number. Okay, so let's wait for this step to finish up and then we will move on to the next one. Cool, so over here we have to select so let's move to the last part. I don't think so we did the right thing there, so let's move here. We have stream test, we have the stream test business account, then we move on to the next one. We will use a display name only, or do we add a new number? Yes, we add a new number and then we select a BSP provided number here and then we click on next. Okay, so we are done with this part, and then let's see what is the next step in the process. Once this number is connected, then it will be connecting our account. Okay, I think with that it's all wrapped up. So I'll just click on confirm. This is connecting our account and the setup for us is done. Also, I noticed that they have this chatbot on the website to which you can also ask these questions, which is actually cool. And this is also one of the use cases that we would be covering in one of these streams in the future, because I also want to create a chatbot like this for my own website. So yeah, we'll move on to that. So now we have connected our account. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for it to connect it, and yes, like we have the phone number now connected. So now I'll just click on next. let's open WhatsApp and let's try sending a test message to this phone number. It should show up on our panel here. So if we go to logs, I guess if we go to inbox, it should show us the messages that we are sending on this number. So let's wait for a couple of seconds and let's yeah. So it says that the number is not available on WhatsApp. Let's create a new contact and let's try doing it again. So I will call it Hermes Agent Live. And let's see what the phone number that we created is. I will just go back to the dashboard. Over here I see one number. This should tell us the phone number. Yes, so this is the phone number that we have created. I will add this here. The extension for this is +1, so I will remove this and I will add this. I think this takes a couple of seconds for this number to show up. It's still taking a while. So probably because we just created this number and it takes like some time for it to get activated. So let's wait while that happens, and meanwhile let's move on to the next step of the process, which is connecting this WhatsApp number with her existing repository. Yes, I think now the number is working. Okay, it's not working yet. So we'll come back to this in some time. Meanwhile, let's move on to the next part of the process, which is actually the most technically challenging part of the process. And I don't mean to make you scared. Like so far, I think if you have been following it, you will be able to do that step as well. So we are actually done through 80% of the process. The next thing is we would be using the documentation of Capso for instructing our agent on how to connect with Capso. So for that, I will just copy the link of this documentation page, and then you will go back to our agent. But before doing that, like I would want to introduce with a very simple framework before you are vibe coding anything which is a bit difficult than most of the stuff. So the basics for vibe coding is that first you research, then you collect, then you plan, and then you code. So you can remember it by RCPC. So I came up with that mnemonic on the fly. I guess it makes it easier to remember. But first you research. So for this video, like we are already through that part. Like we already knew that what are the things we wanted to use. We wanted to use Hermes agent. We wanted to use it with Capso. Then the next part is to collect, and now you have to collect all the relevant documentation that you can provide your agent so that it takes the right step. And we are also done through that part because we already have these links in one place on how to use the Hermes agent, how do we use capso.ai. And then the next part is plan, and that is where we are moving on. So I will open up my cursor again. Now I will just click on this plus icon and I will select plan mode here. So that is exactly what we wanted to do in this step. So now what I will tell is, like I will tell it exactly what we want to do. We want to give our agent a dedicated WhatsApp number. And we want to use Capso for it. Can you please create a plan on how do we do it? Plan for it. We have already created a Capso number. And then I will drop the link of documentation of both the Hermes agent and Capso, and it will go through the relevant parts and it will make out a plan. Official docs of Capso AI. Please look up the relevant sections. So I will just copy the link of the documentation from here and I will paste this here. Similarly, I will also copy the link of the documentation of Hermes agent. So also docs of the Hermes agent, and I will also paste this here. Now this is technically a bit challenging, so I would want it to multitask. I don't think so it can do planning and multitask at the same time, so let's stick with planning mode. And I will use a better model than Composer. So Composer is the native model of Cursor, which is actually good for most tasks, but not that well for complex tasks. I will use Codex 5.3 here, which is specifically made for coding, and it is actually pretty good. And I will then send the message. So it will create the relevant plan, and then it will tell us that what are the next step, and then it can work on all of these steps parallelly. So that's the next step, but this is how you basically approach any new project that you are trying to create with vibe coding. I think like most people ignore this part, like they directly tell what the agent has to do instead, and or sometimes they just use the plan mode and then move on to the next step of building or coding. I wanted to keep it build then, but then RCPB does not sound that good. That's why I kept it coding. So we have RCPC. Now the thing is that, you know, first if you focus on research, for which you can use tools like Perplexity and Claude, you know, on what you want to build, what are the relevant APIs or services you would need for it. And in after that, if you move on to the next step, which is to collect all the relevant information about these technologies, like their documentation, and like if you are even building something more complex than what we are building right now, you would want to first go on the specific pages of these documentation, like the information that we need to use specifically. For example, we want to send messages. So if you want to be very very systematic in how you prompt your agent, you would want to go to the specific pages here. Like if you want your agent to also send images, then you also copy this page along with the rest of the information, so that it knows that it needs to focus more on this exact page. So that is where the second step, collect, comes in, and then you just give the right prompt to your AI. You ask it to plan it, you probably review it once, and then you just ask it to code. And that's mostly the process that you need to use, that I've been personally using. I think for the first time when I heard it, it was like 2 years back, when some guy called AI Jason was using this on their YouTube channel. And since then, like, this has got refined, this has got better, agents has gotten better, but it has just remained the same. Now it is asking us a couple of questions before moving ahead. Which implementation do you want me to plan for? Capso official path, Capso webhooks, Capso send API integrated with Hermes via webhook, middleware or plugin. Hermes built-in WhatsApp bridge, no, we don't want to use it. So we want to use the Capso official path, because that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to give our agent their own phone number. Where will the webhook endpoint run? Needed for HTTPS URL plus optional. So on our existing backend server domain. So right now we would be running this basically on our local server, and then we will move on to Fly. So I will just mention this. For testing, we will run the agent on our local machine, and after that we will move on to fly.io. and I'll just click on continue. By the way, I will also drop this prompt in the same document. So this is prompt number 3. And we also have this here. So I see that it has created the final plan for us. Capso WhatsApp dedicated number plan. Then it also referenced the documentation that it went through, what is the architecture. So honestly, like, I love these small workflows, or like these small architecture diagrams that Cursor makes. It makes it very easy to understand what it is planning to use. So we have WhatsApp user, Capso phone number, they send the message there. The webhook receives it, and then there is like a bridge for connecting Capso and Hermes. This sends the prompt here. Hermes agent works on it, and then it responds back to this bridge, and then we get the message. So it basically first create like a small bridge, local first, and then it connects the bridge to the runtime and do a bunch of different steps. So it has major 4 to-dos, and on a broader level, this looks good to me. So I will move on to Cursor 2.5 because it is much more faster when it comes to building, and I will ask it to build in parallel. So it is now getting started on building all of it. Meanwhile, let's go back to Capso and see if our number is connected yet or not. So let's see if our WhatsApp number is now live or not. I think this takes a fair bit of time. Like in the past, I think this also take me like 20-30 minutes for this to be running. So probably we can wait a while, but I think it should be functional now. No, it's not. So let's wait for some more time. If it works, it works. Then if not, then we will wait for some time and then do it. WhatsApp number limited, business account may be pending. So let's see if we can add some more information to make this process faster. So I see it has some information, view details. So is there a quick verification that we can do? No trusted domains added to peer approval. Okay, I don't think so there is any specific step for us to do here, but I think then this is majorly basically a delay between these numbers getting started. I see that it's unhealthy right now because the account is under review. This is normal for new accounts and usually takes a few hours. Okay, so we would be waiting for a while for this to run, but meanwhile let's build out the rest of the agent. If you already have a Meta business account, this would be much more faster for you, but since we created a new one for this video, that's why it is taking a while. So let's wait for that to be completed. And meanwhile, like, I will also open up a second Capso account so that we can use details from there, so that I can show you the exact process. And if you created a new account, you can just take a pause here and then come back to the video after a couple of hours. If you already have like a second account, then you can follow that as well. So I will just log out from this project, and then I will get all the relevant information from my other Capso account. Meanwhile, let's wait for Cursor to wrap this up so that we can move ahead. I think in the process so far, we have completed adding. So we have created a Capso account. So account, and added a number to it. Then we would be adding WhatsApp number for agent for using Capso, like that is also done. Connect Capso with Hermes. This is the next step that our code editor is working on. So I will make this unchecked, and the last thing from here would be putting our secret keys in the .env file. Then we will test it locally, and finally once we are able to test it locally, then we will push it to fly.io. push the code to fly.io. Build is complete. You can wire up your capsule credentials and for run the local steps for the bridge readme when you are ready. So let's go through the so let's check like what are the next steps. So I see that it has not completed all the steps. It first wants us to test this locally, and then it will move on with the rest of the steps. So for creating the webhook, we would also need like a URL on where our server is running. So I will just quickly check it. And please also provide the URL we should use for creating the webhook. Okay, so I edited my first prompt itself rather than creating a new prompt here, because I don't want to clutter the entire context of the AI agent, and which is usually a better practice when you are creating anything using AI. So like try editing your last prompt rather than dumping new prompt again and again. So can I build it for free, or do I need to buy any subscription? Lakshay, it's available for free. Mr. Coates, is there a node version for Hermes agent? So I'm not sure about it, but I think you should be able to use it. There is definitely one, but I'm not sure about it. Probably ChatGPT can help in here. So now it asks us. So let's directly push this on then fly.io, because for testing this locally, like we would have to create anyways a URL. So let's change this. Let's push the code to fly.io first. So when we push it to fly.io, then we will have like a live URL. And that is basically a step that is needed for us to do the rest of the stuff within Capsule. So that's why I'm asking it to deploy on fly.io. Now for deploying on fly.io, it can directly run it through the terminals, but you would still have to log in into your account when it asks you to do so. So make sure that you have a fly.io account. So and basically you need to connect a payment method to it, but they don't charge you unless you spend more than $5 a month. And I've been using it from I've been using it for running my agent, and so far I think like I've only spent around $2.5. So it would be easily within $5 threshold that they have. So yeah, like my spend for the last 1 week is 2.29, and if I change it to the entire month, it's only 2.65. So basically this is available for free. So create a fly.io account, and once it prompts you to do so, just log in into that fly.io account. So it's deploying this on fly.io, and once that is done, then we will be able to do rest of the steps with Capsule. So I will move on to Capsule now. I will log in from this project, and let's move on to the other project where we already have the setup. So over here I see that I already have a phone number. I will just click on the health check and this tells me that the number is now healthy. This is great. So I will quickly come back on the window to check if fly.io is deployed. It is not yet. Meanwhile, I will go on to API and webhooks here. This is again similar to how we did with OpenAI. We have to create a secret that we can use within our agent, so that every time we send a request, the servers of Capso know that it is coming from our agent and it is like the verified agent. So I will give it a name. I will call it Hermes Agent Livestream. And let's put in our expiry date. I will keep it for tomorrow, and let's create the key. Okay, so I have the key now. So I will save it in the same .env file that we saved the other OpenAI key. So for that, just open this side panel, click on this files button here, and this would redirect you to all the files that you have within your agent, and there would be a bunch of files. You have to find the .env folder here. So it should be after the, okay, it's not here. Yes, so we found the folder. Now if I look within the .env.example, like this will tell me that where do I have to save my Capso API key. I think this is not updated, so I will also ask this, can you please update the .env.example file with details that I need to get from Capso. And this is the cool thing about using parallel agents, like it's already working on the last request of deploying the bridge to fly.io, and meanwhile like it is also editing this meanwhile it is also editing the .env.example file so that we can use it alongside. So I see that it updated the WhatsApp gateway, and yes, we also have the Capso WhatsApp bridge. So over here we need to paste Capso API key and Capso phone number. So let's copy this from here. So we already have our Capso API key, so I will just press I will just add the equal to number here, and I will copy this, and then we will move on to our .env file, and I will paste this here. Then let's also get our phone number. So we also need to get our Capso phone number ID. So this is basically the phone number that we have created within Capso. So I will write this, and then let's copy our phone number. So I will just come on phone numbers, and I will copy the phone number that I have. This part might become a bit overwhelming. Do let me know like if you are facing any trouble from this at this point, but to make it a bit more easier, I will keep dropping all the prompts that I'm using here in the same document. So after this point, I think the next prompt that we dropped, what are the next steps? Like, let me copy this, and let me also add this on the same agent, sorry, on the same document. So we have prompt number 4, and let's remove the formatting. Yeah. And then we have prompt number 5. And we are also done here. I think it's still working on the flyer.io deployment. Let me check like what this is working on. It is waiting for a command to complete, like to get completed. Okay, so it's working. Let's wait for it to be done. Meanwhile, I will just copy my phone number from Capso and I will paste this here. Yes, so this is our phone number. We need to remove all these spaces and the plus icon from here. Yes, so this is perfect. And now I see that it has done deploying the agent over here. So now the next step that it provided us is that this is the URL that we need for creating the Capso webhook. So that is the next step. So I will just come back again on Capso. I will go on API and webhooks, and within this I will click on WhatsApp webhooks. I already have one webhook that I created. I will add a new one. This is Capso events, and I will just add this URL here. And this is specifically just for letting our agent know whenever we send a message using our WhatsApp that it has received a message. So I will just create this webhook, and this will give us a webhook secret. So I will just copy this webhook secret from here. I think this is the new one that we created, right? Hermes Bridge. Yes, this is the right one. And let's come back on our chat here. So I will just go again in the .env.example file, and I see that final thing that we had to add is our Capso secret. So let me just copy this entire webhook secret from here along with the name. And yeah, I will come back on the .env file and I will just paste this. And yes, at this point it should start running. So next step is like all of these are right now on our local system, all these API keys, but all of these need to go to our flyer.io server as well, because that is where the actual agent would be running. So once you have created this file entirely, and I will drop the structure of this file in a minute as well in the same document. Let me just remove all my keys from there and then add it there. So first, like, let me copy this and let's go to flyer.io. So if I go back on flyer.io and if I go on the home screen, I see that there is like a new machine created here called Capso Hermes Bridge. I will select this. Not finding machines to root request. So I see there are some errors here. So that would be fixing in a minute. Before that, let's move on to the secrets panel here, and let's click on add secrets. Now within this you will find two ways of doing it, like you can add them one by one, or you can paste the entire thing, all the secrets down here, and then press on set all the secrets. So I will just paste this here, and then I will create all the 5 secrets. So all our secrets are now completed. So now we would be going on to the next step, debugging. So it's not there in our plan so far, but it is actually part of the process every time. So now we will move on to debugging. At this point, all we have to do is we have to see the error that we are getting here. So let's refresh this. And yes, let's go on to the error page and let's copy the error that we are getting here. And let's paste this here. Here are the errors we got on flyer.io. Meanwhile, all the secrets are now deployed on fly.io. We have been live for more than an hour now, which is actually pretty less than how much time it takes you to create most of these agents. So this is like the initial part, and then now in some, and now in the upcoming part of this series, like we would be making this agent customized to specific use cases, and for that we would be using different processes. But yeah, like through these series, like I would want to keep myself and a bunch of you accountable on creating these agents, because definitely this is the way that future is moving towards. Like I personally used to pay a trainer $9,000 a month, which is around $120 every month for being my personal trainer. And now honestly, like I can replace everything that I used to do. Basically they used to remind me of doing a workout, they used to give me feedback on my diet, they used to give me workout plans every week, they used to tell me that if I'm making progress. So all of those things can be honestly done with a simple agent, and that does not mean that it replaces it, but that makes the process, like someone who does not have the capacity of affording a personal trainer at this point, they can create it simply using AI, and that's the beauty of it. So and that stands for businesses as well. Like right now I think doing taxes is something that I spend so much time on, and I know like AI can do a pretty good job at it. So I think that is one of the things I would want to work on next. So let's see, it is still working on fixing the errors here. Meanwhile, I will check with it. Can you also check if we are done with all the steps of our plan? Root cause capture secrets were set in fly but left in stage status. So okay, so I think they are still on staging status. Okay, now our agent is deployed, it is running fine. So let's come back here. Let's check our plan, like if we are done through this. Like once we are done through this plan, then we will just quickly test our agent, and then we will see that if it's running properly or not. So I have both the agents here. So since we would be using it on the same WhatsApp number, then that's why like I have put up the other agent that I already have deployed on inactive status. So we would know that which agent is actually doing the thing when once that we created just now, or if it's still routing responses through my older agent. So but yeah, like right now the last one is inactive. So I've just kept it inactive for the entire duration of while we are trying to get the new agent in the setup. So it's done. So it's saying you are 75% done, bridge code okay, and the plan trip you are roughly 3/4 of wiring for a live. Okay, do the rest of these steps now, and also update the to-dos. So this is probably the final stretch of creating this. Like if you have stuck so far, you have already built out the agent. Like it's just a couple of more steps after which it should be working. If you're stuck somewhere in between, like feel free to drop a comment. I would love to help you out wherever you are stuck. uh, and honestly, like if you're stuck at some point, you can just go back to that, like you can basically revert all the changes that you have done within your GitHub and start from the last point until which like you have saved all your code. Because this is what makes vibe coding fun. It's sort of like video games where you can keep saving checkpoints, and like if you mess up at one point, you can come back to the last checkpoint and try again. And with time, like you start keep getting better at it, and only like at very complex or difficult levels you fail, and that is only when you have to start from the last checkpoint. So I think it's still working on the last pieces of running this. Let's wait for it to wrap that up. But from our end, like we have added the capsule keys, we have put the secret keys in the .env file. We have still not tested locally because we needed a webhook to do it. So we have tested the Hermes agent locally. So I will just remove the step. We have pushed the code to fly.io, code. So we have done that. Now the next step is we would be doing debugging. So and we are starting with that. Like now we would be testing if the agent is working, and we would be debugging if there are any errors over there. So let's wait for the agent to wrap that up, and meanwhile I'll just open up all these. I will close all these tabs. This is the repository. Then this is our fly.io panel. I will keep this open for a while, and then let's keep Capso over here as well, because we will be checking the inbox to see if it's getting all our messages, and we will close the rest of the things here. So I think it is done with one of these steps. You can also open up these panels and see what these sub-agents are doing. I don't think so everyone is using cursor here. Like I see that Shivam was using VS Code with Claude Code, which is actually also a very powerful setup. But since the beginning of the entire vibe coding era, even when people did not used to call it vibe coding, like I have played around with different AI IDEs. Like Cursor was probably the first one of those, and then like all of these easier ones started coming on. Platforms like Kiro and Windsurf and anti-gravity. But I think still Cursor is the best one when it comes to reliability of features. Like I think I have seen it running into issues far lesser than any other platforms like anti-gravity or Claude Code that I've used in the past. I still feel like in terms of usage you get a lot more with Claude Code, in the same amount of money. But if you are just focusing on better quality, I think Claude Code Cursor is way better than other alternatives like Claude Code and anti-gravity. And I think like if you are a student, you can get the $20 plan for free, and I think they give you a $30-day free trial, so you can use it easily, like for a month without paying. So, and anyways, like this is not sponsored by them, but I like personally have been using it from a very long time, and I am a big fan of the product. So let's go back on our document. We are done with all the steps. We are just on the last part here. I will see that if there are any prompts that I did not update over here. So this is basically for debugging. I think for debugging, all you have to do is you have to just copy the error that you are facing. Like with time, you will also become much more aware in that sense that you will understand if some of these errors are basically something that you can fix yourself. For example, the error that we were facing, like it was basically a value error. It could not understand, like it did not find these keys that needed to be there. So all we had to do is deploy that. But apart from that, there might be some other errors where the server might crash out and all of that. You don't need to understand it clearly. All you have to do is just get it from the specific platform where you are facing that error, like Capso or fly.io, and come back to your central agent, which would be within Claude Code or Cursor, whichever you are using, and then take help of it with it. Sometimes even smaller models make mistakes there. Like I usually use Composer 2.5 for simpler things, and Opus becomes really helpful when you're trying to do something complex, or if you're stuck with an error for a while. Then like all these bigger models like Opus 4.8 and GPT 5.5 are really helpful. So let's see what are the steps here. Local capsule prep. So let's also mention, please note, we are not running the agent locally now and directly running it on fly.io. And we are just on debugging. I think it would take some more time, and with that the step should be done. Meanwhile it's working on that. Like I think another thing that becomes really useful is that Capso also allows you to turn your voice recordings into text. So as I showed you in the demo initially, like I was sending mostly voice notes to it, and it was responding to me with actual text. So that makes it much more easier to communicate with the agent. So you can also set it up like that would be a one line prompt that you have to drop in a new agent, but all those things like make it much more functional, and those optimizations are something that you cannot do with uh, you know already created apps. Like you can only do it with AI agents that you build for yourself. So let's wait for this process to wrap up, and then it should start working. So I see that it has completed all these steps here. I will also ask it to push the code, like once it is done with all the local steps. So now the next step is like we have to just check like if it is providing us the right responses. So I will just go back on the agent and I will drop a message here. Hey, what model are you running on? When I send this, this should read my message. Sorry, I have trouble processing your message. So there is some error here. So let's move on to the next step, which is debugging. So what I will do is I will open up a new chat window and I will ask it to, can you check fly.io logs and see why we are getting this error with the agent, and then I will paste the error. So now we face the error, and now it has access to our fly.io logs directly, so it can see like what is the error and why we did not got the response in the first place. And that sort of becomes like a learning loop for the agent, and that's why it's important that you use fly.io directly from your terminal rather than using it through their app, because in that case you would have to copy paste your logs every time from fly.io and paste it here. So let's see, it is going through the status first. But the good thing is like the connection is working. Like once we send a message, it sends us a response. So which is a good step. Like the connection is working. Now all we have to do is like we have to figure out where that missing link is and then just fix that part up. Yeah, you can pass by. So with that, like all we are doing right now is fixing these logs. I would want to like wrap up the video here. The agent is working. All it is doing at the end is going through the logs and fixing like what exactly went wrong. And this process takes a couple of iterations, and once you are through this, then your agent should start working. So that's the entire process of creating the app. Like let's see if it works in a couple of minutes. If not, then we will just end this here. because the entire process we are done through 99% of the steps. We are just wrapping up the last bits and pieces, and once we are through that, then your agent should start working. So let's wait for a couple of seconds. Let's see if this is working. I think this would take some more time, like it is going through logs and it is understanding if it's working and like where the error is. So let it wrap up that part, and with that we will wrap up the stream. Do let me know like what did you build in the stream. I'm really curious to know that. And I was hoping and yeah, like I was hoping you got to learn something out of this stream. And going ahead, we would be building out specialized agents. In this call, I wanted to keep it, in this stream, I wanted to keep it beginner friendly so that anyone can follow it. But in the streams after this, like we will be building on top of this agent. You can also build out anything that you want to, and just hang out for a couple of hours and build something useful on Sundays. And that's all for the stream. And yeah, this was really cool. Thanks a lot for joining in. I think I'm gonna do it much more often, and that's all.